interweb just stopped. But you get that, don't you? And I actually suddenly realised that the Prime Minister is actually doing her live broadcast. So that's probably why the interweb stopped. But that's all right. I'm back. And the only reason I've jumped back is because I promised you all the Shearers Pizza recipe. And if you did run off and go and grab your pen and paper and everything to get the recipe, I am going to let you know what that is. So if you didn't catch the story yesterday about the Shearers Pizza, the Shearers Pizza was something that my mum used to make when the shearing gangs would come a couple of times a year to do the shears. So I'm a farmer's daughter, and generally within the farming calendar, you would do a main lot of shearing, which was generally around end of November, early December ish, which was the shearing that was done, which was your big main shear, and then you often had a second shear sort of sometimes in between with lambs or crutching or whatever it might be, and you would get outside contractors to come in and do that. And those contractors often, particularly if they were there for the big main shearing, would stay on site for anywhere upwards of 2 weeks, and they would have their own cook, which provided generally breakfast and dinner, or even lunch, breakfast, lunch and dinner. But the smokos, the morning and afternoon teas, were generally the purview of the cookhouse with the farm, which was where my mum came in. So my mum used to whip this pizza up, particularly if she was quite short of time, because it used store cupboard staples that she always had, and if she was busy doing other bits and pieces, she knew she could get this out really, really quickly. Now, you do have to bear in mind that this was, I mean, I learned how to make this in the 70s, so this was before actual pizza was a thing in New Zealand. In fact, I don't even think we even had Pizza Hut in New Zealand at that time. In fact, probably the only place you could find proper pizza in New Zealand or close to would have been Wellington, I would have thought. So this recipe was something that everybody just loved. My mum still makes it. I made it for lunch yesterday, and my youngest son loves it. And it's comfort food. Like, it's really comforting, and for me it feels like home. And in the previous video when we got chopped off, I was just talking before about how nostalgic stuff is, you tend to fall back on watching movies and things that you've watched before because it feels comforting and nostalgic and makes you feel good. And I think at this time, that's what we want. So Shearers Pizza, it is really, really easy. So the first thing is the base, and I just use a scone base. So I know loads of you have lots of different recipes for your favourite scones and how you like to do scones. Some do the can of Sprite scones, others of you use the classic rub the butter and the flour scones. I've even been known to be extremely lazy and use scone mix because why wouldn't you? It's easy. However you make your scones, you need to have the equivalent of around 3 cups of flour. So whatever the batch of scones is, as long as it has pretty much 3 cups of flour, that's about the amount of mix that I use for a decent sized pizza. So you get it and you roll that out until it's sort of about 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick and just in a big slab. Onto a baking sheet, make sure you've preheated your oven to 160 fan force or 180 standard, and then roll, as I said, roll out your scone mix. You can pop it in a baking tray if you've got a baking tray that will fit that. It will sort of fit a standard sized tray. Then onto that, you put tomato sauce or tomato relish, and it's the equivalent of around 1/4 to 1/2 cup thereabouts, but it's enough to go on that base so you completely cover it over to the edges. All right. We quite often use tomato relish because my mum is like the world's greatest bottler and pickler known on earth. Honestly, she is. People that know my mum, bread and butter pickles, tomato relish, tomato sauce, she's into it. She's all over it. So I quite often use, for her, she generally always uses tomato relish because that's what she has. Yesterday I just used tomato sauce because that's what I had. Then in a bowl, grab a bowl, and in there you want 1 onion finely chopped, you want 1 cup of grated cheese, you want 1 egg, A little bit of seasoning to taste if you wish. You can put in some finely chopped parsley in there if you wish. You can add some spring onions or chives in there if you wish. You're going to take that and you're going to mix it up. And the egg kind of makes it like this quite wettish, gooey looking mixture. Tip that out on top of your base, spread it all out so it's all evenly spread over to the edges. And then I top it off, and you don't need to do this because if you're a vegetarian you may not wish to, but if I always add 2 rashers of bacon just finely chopped, and then add that over the top as well. Pop it in the oven, as I said, at 180 standard 160 fan force, and it usually takes around 15 minutes to cook. Keep an eye on it, every oven's slightly different, but it's 12 to 15 minutes, and it's generally cooked because that egg that's in the top layer and with the cheese will actually puff up a little bit. And it kind of goes almost like this oniony, sort of cheesy souffle quiche kind of layer. It's a little bit like, I can't remember it. Who remembers there used to be that slice that you used to make? You know, that was the and it was like a biscuity thing, and then a jam, and then it had like coconutty meringue stuff at the top. It's a little bit like that. And your scone base is all cooked, and that's it. It's really easy, and it's very savoury and really tasty, and it's quick, and it's great for the kids. So if you're looking to do something, if you've got kids at home and you're wanting something to bake with them that's fun, this is really easy. It's super, super, super easy. And it is. And it's, for me, very, very nostalgic. So that's my Shearers Pizza. And as I mentioned earlier on the previous video before I got chopped off, I did Spanish and feta pie today. I'm not going to do a recipe for that because I made it up, because that's what I do. Yeah. So that's fun for that. Now, the other thing I was going to talk about before I got cut off before was reading. I mentioned before in the previous video about reading like books and magazines and things that I have had lying around for a long time. The other thing you can do too is you can always subscribe to something new. And one of the, I've mentioned it on previous Gaines videos, but I'm going to mention it again. This is Tiny Studio. Now, I'm very lucky because I've got this in hard copy and these don't exist. But the wonderful Susie had this done up for me to take away to show people at Stitches West, which I did, and people absolutely loved it. And this in digital format is available on her Tiny Studio website, which can be found at fibrarygoodness.com, and you can download that, and it's a compilation of the first years of issues. And now is the perfect time to subscribe because we're all at home and there is some wonderful inspiration there. And what it's not just, it's all hand and yarn crafts. So many of us are ambi craftsress. So if you are wanting something to really get your teeth into and get inspired, Susie's been doing Zoom spin-ins, and she's got lots of really fantastic content, and it really is a wonderful publication, and we are very proud to be supporting this. We just absolutely adore it. So if you're looking for a little treat for yourself while you're at home, I can thoroughly recommend that. But I'm not going to talk too long. It's because we've got tomorrow I want to catch up with Ethan. Hopefully the technology will behave itself for us, so I want to talk to him and also flick through, as I said, keep posting bits and pieces up. The jumper I talked about before was posted in the Speakeasy today, and if you haven't joined the Speakeasy yet, hello, where have you been? Make sure you get yourself all joined. We'd love to see you. But until then, have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully around 11. Take care. Bye.